Yep. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Clover Garden School Board of Directors November 14th, 2023 meeting at 6:35 p.m. Ms. Verakin, role and mission of the board.
We are entrusted to care for the current school and stay focused on the vision for the future school. No trust, no unity, no progress. Mission of Clover Garden School. Clover Garden School will foster community, generate enthusiasm, challenge students academically, and produce successful citizens.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda for this evening? Any additions, changes? Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Ms. Merle, second. Ms. Foster, all in favor? Has everyone had a chance to review the October 10th, 2023 minutes? Any questions, changes to those minutes? Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Mr. Russell, second. Ms. Merle, all in favor? Ms. Verakin, do we have anyone for public comment this evening?
No, ma'am.
That moves us on to finances. Ms. Simmons?
Yes, the October 2023 budget and the draft for review. Don't have any questions.
Has everyone had a chance? No questions, issues? Do I have a motion to approve the October 2023 budget? Ms. Foster, second. Ms. Merle, all in favor? Moves us to academics, principal updates. Ms. Spencer and Mr. Feldman. You guys kind of go back and forth.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna stand up and just first off acknowledge that I believe we got two, right? Oh, that's correct. And we had maybe 6 or 7 invited. But for the board, you know, we've talked about our journey at the Integrity Campus since July, and it's been approximately 15 weeks or so. The environment just changed drastically. Okay. But in those 15 weeks, we've grown together and demonstrated one of our core pillars, which is community. And the students that were invited tonight is recognized by the teachers who have been in those classroom environments that are shared and require the setup and the takedown. Set up on a Monday morning, take down on a Wednesday afternoon for the church services and all that goes on the campus, set back up again, take back down on Friday night. And we couldn't do it without our help, to be honest with you, and that student leadership and dedication. It just so happens that several of those are young folks who come in on that early bus. So not only do they arrive to school about 30 or 45 minutes before the school day starts, but initially we thought we were putting them to work too. But it's grown into really a heartfelt commitment, and so we wanted to recognize them publicly. And Ms. Nall, would you care to say anything? Because Ms. Nall is one of the teachers in that space, and has, really helped to kind of orchestrate that partnership.
I just wanted to say that I could not have done this without them. Every Monday we were going, my family and I were setting up, actually Sunday and doing it. And it wasn't until it was like, I came in and said, is anyone willing? And I had them, they stood up and they came with me, and week after week. And I will tell y'all, you're talking 80 chairs, you're talking 20 or 36 tables. I mean, it is huge. Partitions, TVs. It is not a small thing. And week after week, I know y'all were tired, I was tired, but they did it anyway. And so not everybody stood up, not everybody got up. But these students did. And from just the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, and these are the regulars, right? I mean, this is every week showing up, getting it done. So you're right, approximately 90 chairs, 40 tables, just setting up, taking it down, no questions asked, not a second thought. Doing it because they want to, because it's the right thing to do. And you can see just how touched Ms. Nall is. So incredible impact. Ms. Nall, if you wouldn't mind, let's recognize the students that are here, and you can issue this certificate to them, but in alphabetical order, just so that we're being fair. The first one is Noah Reed. Okay, and the other is Zachary Wilson. I would like to just publicly say the names of the other students who were recognized and for various reasons could not be here tonight, but we will get this certificate to them, which you're now able to see for yourself. So I didn't want to tell you what it said, but for the board, it says outstanding community member, and we're recognizing them for that member. Those other students were Chris and Zora Cruz, who is one of our new students to Clover Garden this year. Charlie Castaneda, McKeem Martin, and his brother Tykeem, and Garrison Womble. Okay.
We have two other guests that will be joining us. One is Coach Pascal for her athletic updates, and then we have our first grade team, which is our highlight for the K-8 campus. And while Coach Pascal is coming, I want to take a moment to go ahead and share. We start with honor as well and recognition. We just want to give a huge thank you and shout out to our student council and Ms. Thompson and Ms. Wilson, who worked tirelessly. Over the past month, we have BOD Mtg month in October, as well as Red Ribbon Week, which was hosted by our dream team and Coach Dotson. So they put on a plethora of activities throughout those 2 weeks. And the month for our students just brought in awareness for drug awareness as well as BOD Prevention Month. Also a big shout out and thanks to Ms. Leash and her team again for the Fall Festival. A lot of you were there as well. And so again, we just want to, bring mention to that. And then our PTT for providing our staff with Thanksgiving lunch just past week. And then also for keeping our refrigerators stocked. That's a huge thing for our teachers. So we really appreciate those efforts. So Coach Pascal, it is on you for your athletic.
Absolutely. Hello, just a couple things that I wanted to update as far as athletics goes. We are in the full course of our homecoming week for high school this week. Our theme is "Are you up for homecoming?" So it's been a really fun thing to do. Friday we will be hosting our high school homecoming court at the halftime of the varsity boys game. And because of the growth and so many people, we actually split homecoming into 2 separate homecomings this year, just to be able to allot families and parking and all the space. And so everybody can see their kids in homecoming. So we're actually going to host a second homecoming the week of December 8th, and it's going to be paired with our middle school boys and girls basketball game as well. And they decided to use "Are you up for homecoming" theme and just make a little twist on it to gear more toward middle school and elementary school. If you happen to look at Mr. Reagan's message, I would love for you to take a look at our t-shirts that we have for homecoming this year. So it's up theme, of course, and it has our new building up with balloons on the back, and all the kids are really excited and taking a lot of pride into the final steps of getting there and being part of that school being our school. The other thing that I would like to share is we are hosting 5 teams. We have our JV boys, varsity girls, varsity boys, and then also our middle school boys and girls. And so out of all of those teams, I just counted, and I think it's a really great thing, is we have 17 new first-year students that are on our basketball teams this year. So I think that's a really awesome and a really good fact and statistic for you to have, that we're starting to pull in from all of our first year and new students, as well as our returners too. But that's as far as all the updates that I have for athletics for now. But please come to homecoming. It's gonna be really fun and a lot of good things and bits on them. All right, thank you. Yes.
So that is first grade team. We have Mrs. Lewis, Mrs. Tunstall, and Mrs. Wright getting ready to share.
So yes, we are, yeah, you just want to do it? No, I'm just kidding.
Is it?
We just have a few slides. So we were just gonna share some of the things that we've done, community wise.
October was kind of full, but and what we're doing in first grade as a whole.
Yeah, so we, every year we host a flags for first graders, so in October, first graders have the opportunity of learning about the history and the importance of the American flag, by bringing in some of the veterans from our local region. So they got to learn the history behind it, how to properly take care of a flag, and then they got to leave their own, American flag, and they actually were really excited. And one of the things they were told is they can't touch the ground, and so they took that very seriously. And they would not let their flag touch the ground, so they really enjoyed that.
Okay, we went on our field trip and the children had a really great time. We had a good amount of parent participation, which was wonderful. Miss Tunsil got lost in the maze, but she made it out. So, other than that, they had a really wonderful time. We'd like to talk about our science units, seed to pumpkin. We all pretty much did that. We had a literacy unit, things like that. So yeah.
And this was these guys' first field trip, which was really cool. So it's neat. We should play that.
They got to participate in an outdoor classroom type atmosphere, and so they got to learn about honeybees and about the worker bees, the drone bees, and how they all work together, and they really enjoyed that.
And then we also had a parent come in and share about fire safety. He's from the fire department. So he brought in his crew and they got to see the truck and they talked about all the stuff. And then we kind of split up into a couple groups, and some of us went in the classroom and they put on the whole gear, which I always love for them to do, because it's one of those just for them to see, hey, this is what we look like. It's not scary still. You know, come to us if something happens. So they got to learn about fire safety that way in a great fun way. So, and then just one other thing that we have been doing, obviously the MTSS intervention and the den time is something we've been doing for years, but this is the first year that we in first grade at least have kind of split all of our students up into different groups, and we're switching amongst our classrooms so that all of the kids, whether they need that enrichment, they're those bubble kids that just need that extra push, or the lower kids that just need some time completely focused on where they're at, all of the kids are able to get that dedicated 45 minutes each day. And it's been tough. The scheduling, the rotating, it's been tough, but it's been really rewarding to see how they're growing and to get to know all of the kids from the different classes. So that's us.
Okay, so we're gonna move to the curriculum instruction team. For our staff has participated in professional development on the half day that we had this past week. We participated in a couple of things such as iReady, fall into data, which Ms. Reagan helped do that session for them. We talked about some new science standards and how to implement those. And some of our staff as well as administration got to participate in CPI training. And that was held and trained by Ms. Page and Ms. Garrison here. So that was very interesting for us to do. And that's some of the things that we.
Absolutely, and so I'll keep the ball rolling under academics. Also, we had opportunities to celebrate with some of our students in terms of their academic achievements for honor roll, and that's both all A's, for all A's and all B's. We had guys, over 400 students that earned that recognition. Ms. Whipple will talk a little bit later about we recognize the all A students, but that was a great opportunity just to see students learning and growing in that regard. Of course, we are continuing with our current observations. This is round 2 within the classrooms.
Let me go back to assessment and data. For our AIG, we currently have 127 students identified in the AIG program right now. That's grades 4 through 12. third grade will be updated at the end of the year because we have to get all of their data. We'll be running a state report on November the 15th. To be submitted. The enrichment program, which is I'm glad you guys share some of that because that's, they're being started in Denton in grades K through 5. Middle school's being served through the advanced placement and math class, and then tiered and compacted instruction and ELA classes. For the MTSS program, we actually had one of our meetings this month today. We were able to discuss 28 students today with that. 2 of the tier 3 students were referred on, and 2 of the 3 tier 3 students were de-escalated. So that means they were being brought down. 3 of those students were escalated to tier 3 for ELA and math. 1 of those groups were escalated up to tier 3, but that's through our ESF, just being served through ESL because we don't have an ESL program. So we're also using MTSS to be able to serve some of those through language. So that's how we're implementing that piece as well. 2 of those students were being able to de-escalate from tier 2 back into our core curriculum program. So that we are using the data to be able to move those tiers back and forth. So out of the 28, that was some of our movements today.
All right, and so that takes us to our community, culture and climate section. And so just under health and safety, you'll see, we are extremely excited as we have been awaiting for, mental health services from Ms. Alvarado, which she is just about right on the cusp of being, available with us, but she will be working from a prioritized list to begin with. But we are excited as we see the need, to better serve our students, in the area of their mental health and emotional states. Also, we've had an opportunity to recognize some spaces for a little R&R by way of revamping and reviewing some of our practices as it becomes, as we're talking about like safety procedures. And so one thing that I think everyone probably has noticed lately is that we have Miss Kelly, and I'm looking around because she's in the room right now, but she, something as simple as having her posted on the 14 mornings. So if a student is tardy, she's there and she can, she's meeting students for them to sign in with the appropriate documentation so that they can come in. But what that does is it deters and limits the traffic from coming in and out of the building during a time of the day that's already pretty busy. And so the team, we are continuing to have and further conversations about efforts and things that we can do to tighten up those procedures. So it's a little R&R going on right now with us in that area. Also, movie council student life, again, as it was already mentioned, October was a very cool. We had a lot of things going on in addition to the academic break. And so we participated and you will see in some of the photos, that again, National Bully Prevention Month. And so I'll go ahead and say this publicly. Ms. June. I was excited, just about the opportunity as well as the students. But again, we talk about, bullying and helping students, staff, but even parents to understand like the difference between bullying and disagreements and conflict. And so I was inspired and I created a song. It's in our folder. You all can hear it later as well. But share that with the students and even challenge them that if they wanted to add a verse to it, that they definitely could. But it was, just good to see the excitement around and the conversations. I participated actually in an interview with a couple of students, and several of our staff members did. And then also Red Ribbon Week again with our student activity there. So I just wanted to say that publicly. We'll play that at the end, maybe.
Then we had our student recognition. We did dessert with the principal. So we had a very elegant dessert that the students that had all A's got invited to a special ceremony with Miss Spencer and I. And they received a certificate and they got called down and we had a nice dessert laid out for them. They got cut down for that, so that's what we did. And then we had students without referrals, got called. We've done best Grizzlies where teachers nominate. And then they have stars. We've got some stars out and we're doing calling of the parents. We're giving out ice cream passes and showing out for some of those in front of their peers, and they're enjoying that. And then we have some current and upcoming events that we have going on, such as some of our fundraisers and the holiday meals for heroes. And then our homecomings this past fall. So those are just a few things that are up in the book. I think that's about it. And then you have your QR codes on the tables that you can see some of the pictures as well, of things that have been going on. That's all the way.
Questions for Ms. Whitfield and Mrs. Spencer before we? All right, very good. So the principal's report itself is fairly short. From my side, in terms of paper length, I did put a copy in the board folder for you to check out. But in just a minute, I'm gonna have Mrs. Reagan give a few updates on some things, and her slideshow is available for you to view as well. But before we get there, Morris has been very extremely, very busy with testing, month of October especially, but again, learning a new job, with the testing and accountability, coming into a new school community, taking on a dual role. It's been a big undertaking. She's doing a great job with it. And I just thought maybe we should give you some updates on where we were last month and where we're headed.
So October was a busy month for testing. We did have check-ins for the first time at our K-8, and we divided and conquered those. If you look at the testing calendar, it shows we split 6-8 and 3-5 to allow us the opportunity to utilize our resources to the maximum capacity during those weeks. At the high school level, we did the PSAT 8 and 9. We did the 8th graders here at the K-8 and the accelerated 8. At the high school as well as our 9th graders. I think it's a total of 102 kids. That's the PSAT 8, 9. And that's just a kind of insight of what the SAT will look like for them. They take it in their 8th, 9th grade year, and then their 11th graders took the PSAT and SQT. And that is another kind of glimpse into what the actual SAT will be like for them. Those test scores should be coming back any day. And we can utilize that data to kind of help us see where our kids are, where their strengths and weaknesses are, and what we can do to kind of help them and boost those types of test taking skills and strategies and information that they need to be successful on those tests. We started November again with some more check-ins at the high school level for our biology and our math 1. We are in the middle of the pre-ACT. That is for our 10th graders. The ACT comes up later for our 11th graders at the end of February. We did the first big round today, and tomorrow is a small group and some makeup sessions. And then that will conclude the pre-ACT. We have check-ins next week for last one for biology, math 1 for the year-long students. So that will be, I think, about 3 kids at the K campus. And then we'll have the math 1 students who are year-long courses take those after Thanksgiving. And then month of December, we have our EOCs. This semester, we will have math 1, math 3, and biology. And then we have our high school teacher made exams and middle school teacher made exams, and all that happens once we get back from Thanksgiving.
The logistics with pulling off testing are never easy. So, it's always come down to space and people. And that won't change when we move, but it's been particularly challenging and integrity. And so, I thank Mrs. Morris, but I do want to thank the staff, because if not for the staff and their patience and willingness to bend and flex, like rubber bands, we wouldn't be able to get any of this in. So they've been incredible, and we're very appreciative. We'll do it one more time tomorrow. Okay. One last quick shout out in celebration, and Mrs. Spencer, just to piggyback on what you said about Fall Fest. That was an incredible K-12 community event, very well attended. The organization by Mrs. Leach was superior, but I do want to celebrate the bottom line, and just because it did benefit the science department at the end of the day. It was an incredible Am I okay to say it on public? About $16,000, $16,000 that came in through that event. And so there's a blueprint there for people to follow, but that really is nothing short of fantastic. Okay. And I know we had Mrs. Leach here in our coach, but again, wanted to follow up that did pay dividends. So as we transition, again, this is the crux of the principal's report for high school tonight, but over the last 3 months, I've given you some information about various things, data points, without showing visuals. Have talked about school improvement plan documents, professional development plans for teachers, and what we've done in workshops with those teachers on dedicated days in August and November, as well as some community programming that we've brought in visitors and guests to work with our students. I've asked Mrs. Reagan to take a deeper dive and just go into depth to bring that to life tonight. After what's almost a semester of work, if you can believe that, semester of the school year coming to a close. Just kind of taking a look at what we've done thus far.
Thank you. If you have a handout for you guys, with a space to take any notes if you may like, and then some visuals as well. Thank you. So tonight we're gonna focus on some of the high school, all of the high school updates, like Mr. Feldman said, and we'll do a follow-up in either January or February for the K-8. Once we have some more check-in data for those students, and some more updates for that campus as well. But tonight we're just gonna focus on the high school and what we've done in semester 1 thus far. So over the summer, Ms. Spencer, Mr. Feldman, and myself, we really looked at everything from a K-8 perspective. I've been here, I've talked to you guys about our school improvement plan, our AIG plan, all of those things that all of us worked very hard on. And over the summer, we tried to really incorporate all of these plans for K-12. And as I like to say, tie a nice pretty bow on it. So that's something that the 3 of us really work hard on, is how do we make it purposeful for our staff and our students to get the outcomes that we want to set forth for Clover Garden School as a community. So we look at a PDP, which is a professional development plan. Every teacher is asked to do one yearly. Those change from year to year. And we look at that data at the end of the year to formulate new plans on a K-12. This year, we also did a K-8 and a 9-12 goal for that. And then the teachers also formulate their own personal goal that they want to look at. But for tonight's purposes and what we really looked at honing in on for the school year was the goal 2 that we kind of formulated a lot of things about, was looking at curriculum, looking at lesson plans, and looking at feedback that is provided by administration on student data, and then looking at the reflective practices that our teachers do in the classroom. We also looked at the school improvement plan, and one of those alignment goals for our school was that principals or designees monitor that curriculum and classroom instructions regularly, and they provide timely, clear feedback for teachers. And I'll talk in a minute about that. And then we also look at the NESA's evaluation alignment for our summative and formal observations that teachers get from administration, where teachers look at their reflective practices and analyze their student data. So hopefully some of the keywords that really stick out there is data, and that is extremely important. Data with or drive and fall into data, as Ms. Whitfield mentioned that we did last week, and I'll touch on that. But to have instruction that's driven by data, and that's a good goal set for us. With all of that in mind, we created a local walkthrough evaluation form that will give that instantaneous feedback to our teachers when it's used. We looked at that walkthrough, we looked at the data from last year and previous years as well to look at key measurements that we want to improve in the classrooms for the teacher and ultimately our students. So Ms. Spencer and I, we created one for the K-8 campus, and then Mr. Feldman and I with the 9-12 campus to use that tool to provide that instant feedback, because that was feedback from staff members as well that said that they wanted that in a timely manner and right off the tips from a walkthrough perspective. And walkthroughs, just to give you an example, that's like a 10-minute snapshot of when administration goes into a classroom, they look at key measurements, and then they send that feedback right when they leave and hit submit, and the teachers get it instantaneously. So from the high school's perspective, we looked at and dived into the Q1 data. And the two measurements that were not observed or low performing for high school teachers in that walkthrough data is the culturally responsive instruction and being culturally responsive in our teaching, as well as differentiated instructional strategies. And administration and I met, we discussed this and formulated a plan. We went and myself and talked to every high school teacher about these two features in particular. We met with them and talked to them about resources, teaching strategies. I was able to give them some of those. We talked about how do you implement that in the classroom if it wasn't observed in the walkthrough itself, like can we talk about examples and share those out amongst our departments. So this was just the data on that for the first walkthrough in Q1. As you can see, all of the teachers were observed one time at least for this particular data set, and 93% of the observation walkthroughs, it wasn't observed. And that doesn't mean that the teachers aren't doing it, and that was what facilitated that conversation. It just meant at that particular time when administration was walking through, doing an observation, and again, those can be anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes, that it wasn't being observed, and it was something that we needed to grow in. The differentiated instruction strategies was also another one, and as you can see, it's 87.5% of that was not observed during the walkthrough itself. So again, just like administration always likes to say, and I like to piggyback on, there has to be a purpose for it. We don't do it just to do it. Like, we want meaning to everything that we do and to grow from that. So that facilitated curriculum meetings with all of the high school teachers that were conducted in the month of October, where, like I said, we talked about these two things. I asked the teachers themselves, like, what are you doing that's differentiated? What do you need help with that, support with that? Here are some resources and some instructional strategies to use, as well as being culturally responsive in their teaching. And to Mr. Feldman shared this with them in August at our first staff development, and we helped formulate definitions for that. Like, what does that mean? When you see this terminology and you look at this data because it was shared amongst our teachers, you know, what is your interpretation of what that means, so that we're all on the same page for that. So with that in mind, we developed our first professional development session with the high school teachers, where we looked at planning with RBT, which is revised Bloom's taxonomy. And we looked at defining what rigor is. We really dove deep into the standards themselves, making sure that teachers understood what those verbs were, what the connecting verbs were. And you have an example on the back side of the front page of what that looks like, which is this one, where we're looking at mastery that the state sets for our students and making sure that our teachers are instructing for that set of mastery, looking at our category verb for a standard, and this is just an example, and then looking at the process verb, what our students are actually supposed to be doing in the classroom, and how do we facilitate that for the differentiated levels in our classroom for every subject area. So teachers were asked to bring their standards so we could dive a little bit deeper in these. Science is going to go through this really heavily next semester because they are expected to implement the new science standards next year. And they kind of got a tidbit of that last week in one of their professional development sessions, where they're going to start looking at those changes that are being implemented. From this was a tool that we asked teachers to use and develop from August to November. This is kind of their follow-up and homework for that. And you do have an example of one of the teachers in your packet. where we just ask them, okay, you see what the standard of the state sets for your students. Now, how do you differentiate that in the classroom? A lot of our teachers have been teaching for years and they have all these activities and lessons and they say, oh, I've done that for 3 years. I don't want to do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do something different. But you can place that in a planning tool to help implement that differentiation. If your student is either falling behind or needing enriching in the classroom, it's somewhere to keep it safe and be able to display that for our kids. Okay. Any questions about the professional development before I look at the aftermath of how that helped? All right, so after those were facilitated, professional development, the conversations I had with all of our teachers, the second Q2 data walkthrough were implemented from administration, and we did see growth. We did see where now these are being observed in the classroom. We went from the culturally responsive instruction not being observed at 93.4% to now at 72%. So we had an increase in about 21% for that, which was awesome for our teachers. And then the differentiated instruction increased 32% amongst our teachers during the walkthrough data. So improvements being made. So that led us into the next professional development and the follow-up with that, where our teachers brought in these matrix charts that they were asked to complete and show to help support our students on all levels. And we took it one more step further into rigor and DOK, which is depth of knowledge. So even if you have a student who is only at that lowest level of revised Bloom taxonomy or RBT, how can we still make that knowledge in depth for that particular student? So that's where the teachers met last Thursday in our professional development session, and they went over how do I make it even more rigorous for those students at every level. Right, the follow-up from that one, which will be the Q3 conversations that are held with high school teachers and professional development in February, is increasing and using that information from last week, looking at and reflecting on our instruction as well as our analysis of our student data, because a lot of our courses by February, half of them will be concluded by then. So we can really start facilitating that conversation with our teachers on how do we look at the reflective piece as a teacher and make growth in the classroom for ourselves, and then taking action for those student learning in the year-long classes that are halfway over. Any questions about that before we look into some high school data that Mr. Morris had asked or mentioned? Okay. So just looking at the latest EOC check-in that Ms. Morris mentioned, I know that's been mentioned at the previous board meeting, so I wanted to mention that to highlight the high school check-in data again for you guys. We can see here with biology that, and Ms. Leach is our biology teacher, and her latest check-in that she did last week, she was at 93% proficient with her students, which was excellent. They are rocking and rolling, and she's continuing with her boom cards and her lunch bunch. And I'll talk a little bit more after we look at some math data, as well as to what is facilitating into the next level to prepare those students for their ESC come December. So just a reminder of what the first two check-ins were, and hers are not cumulative, they are subject-based and standard-based, so it's not really comparable to one another. But definitely rocking and rolling with that. And then just kind of looking at last year's edition, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. You have a copy of it, but you can see where those increases are taking place, the average score for the test itself, what the students average on that in comparison to last year to this year, and seeing that growth in our students as well as the biology courses, and then their proficiency, how well our students are gaining growth in that level as well. And then lastly for data is math. So we are making strides for that in the math department. We are closing that gap for the non-proficiency with that. It is not cumulative, it is standard based as well. And then looking at that and maintaining that level of mean scores and proficiency scores for the math department in Math 1. So a little slight dip, but not too much. Maintaining that balance is where we really want to keep it at. And in the high school for, oops, missed the slide. Well, they are doing the lunch bunch, like I mentioned, with Miss Leach. They're doing targeted tutoring now, as well for non-proficient performing students are being invited personally to tutoring, where they will review that check-in data and look at the test itself to make sure that they're ready and prepped for the EOC in just a few weeks. Any questions about data? This is my last part. All right, we also did 3 events at the high school this semester for special community programming and getting our community members into Integrity's campus for our students. The first one was on our half day in September. We did special programming that targeted all of our students based on their need and grade level. We had our All-American Week assembly that our student council hosted with Ms. Wilson, and that was for all students to kick off that special day. And then we had Elon Academy come in and target our 9th graders because that's where they start that program and enrollment with, to get them ready for college, to get them set with how to pay for college, the funding, the academics, and the pieces for that, and ensure them in Elon's success too. We actually have currently 1 student that is in that program at the high school, and he was able to help facilitate that with the presenter as well. Then we had grades 10 through 12. The Chamber of Commerce came in and spoke to Mrs. Elon and our student, Jose. Our 9th graders. The Chamber of Commerce came in and they spoke a lot about apprenticeships. They came in and talked about the Elon Promise that ACC goes into all students in their community about how they're going to support students in financial need to be able to afford the 2-year education program through ACC. He talked about scholarships, internships, which is something that we are following up currently with our high school students and ACC, and I'll talk a minute about that, and their availability of giving back to their community. We also had an ACC representative come in and talk to them about the workforce readiness and preparation for those students who want to go straight to the workforce and not attend a college, or maybe attend a trade school, and what their availability as a high school student is and how that can matriculate into the workforce and their education post-secondary school. Then the last one was a college workshop that we had Mr. Daniel Ayers come in and talk to our juniors and seniors, and he talked to them about writing essays, application processes, how to sell yourself so that colleges want you. So that was really enjoyable for our students in grades 11 and 12, and they got to see the workshop in order for that and prepare them for writing essays and applying to colleges. Then we hosted a college night in October where we invited our junior and senior parents out. We did have an increase in attendance from last year to this year for that event. We just went through and talked to them about some of the virtual college fairs that they could register for and sign up for, to listen and find out about their colleges. We gave them some application tips, essays, financial aid, loans, grants, scholarships. In lieu of having a guidance counselor at the moment, this is something that Mr. Feldman and I spoke on with our families about, just so that they had that information available to them to help facilitate that process. And then lastly, we had this past Thursday, we had special programming come in for all of our high school students. We kicked it off with the iGuardian presenters coming in for all 8 through 12 students. They went in and talked about predatory online behaviors and the importance of social media and putting your information out there. and talked about some real life examples of that for our students. And then, like I said, we followed up with ACC, and we had different departments, heads and representatives from those departments come out and do a small group rotation, which, like Ms. Morrison knows, with the moving pieces of integrity, was not easy to plan, but we did it and we got through it. And our students were able to go see each one of these different departments and learn about dental assisting. The biotechnology came out. If anybody's driven by the new ACC or down there, they see that new big, really cool architectural building. That's the biotechnology building. And they were able to come out and share a lot about that in a special setting. We also have a follow-up with those students. We have 12 students who are really interested in biotechnology. And we are trying to plan a field trip to take them out to do actual field labs and studies at ACC, hopefully in January is our goal for that. Then we had graphic design and advertising, and the nursing department came out and spoke to our students to get them interested in the different options that they have for career choices. For that. So this is dental and graphic design. This was the biotechnology. And then lastly, we had nursing, and then ACC themselves talking about the CCP, which is career and college promise for our students, and how they can take those classes as juniors and seniors, and then post-graduation options and how to apply and get accepted into ACC. Does anybody have a question here?
Mrs. Reagan, thank you. Before we transition to the next piece, I really just want to point out that what we've been able to do is nothing short of everybody being on board, being in vision and being in agreement, working together. Again, we're kind of at the halfway point, and we've not allowed, the environment to dictate what our goals are, and we've just kind of pushed through it. So wanted to take a minute. Thank you again for sharing it, because Mrs. Reagan plays an integral role in that alongside of the administrative team in terms of planning and carrying it out. But again, if it weren't for the teachers and their support, this can't happen, because clearly that was a lot. That was a big presentation. Thank you for sharing that, because it's a synopsis of where we've been through about a half of the year. And I couldn't be more proud. And I just wanted to make sure that was shared tonight. Mr. Huffines, I know you're going to talk about expansion, and that's kind of where I'll end. Is just that we're all very eager and just can't wait. Because if we can do these things there, we can imagine what we can do, right? When we get settled in for real. But with that in mind, we are ready to transition. I've been working on that with the team. So as soon as we get that green light, we're ready to roll.
Porter, and I did come and visit integrity. She said, get a feel and understand what you're experiencing, and just the darkness of it.
Dimly lit.
Yeah, it's dimly lit.
Yeah.
That alone, that's what the staffs. Just overall, but it's quite the logistics that we've got going on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So thank you very much, and hopefully.
And again, I'll just say on the record, I don't know if I can ever convey fully my gratitude for the faculty and staff at the high school. I don't have the words for it, but I hope they do know. And I'm not sure they could go another quarter there. Like I think they're kind of at the end, but again, couldn't be more proud of how they held it together. Absolutely.
Jokingly, I wish I could send them all through.
The rubber band's about to break. That's what he's trying to say. It's been stretched every which way.
Staff.
Almost. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Spencer, Mr. President, that was great. Committee updates.
Governance. Yes, ma'am. I just go back history on June 13th, the board approved our new bylaws. And proud to announce that the Office of the Charter Schools has approved that request for the change of the bylaws. So we can be more effective with the growth that has happened.
Thank you, Ms. Little. Finance Committee did meet recently and reviewed a couple of things going on, which we were probably at this time. And
We've already talked quite a bit about academics tonight, but I'm just gonna try to put this in a nutshell for you. During the months of October and November, there were check-ins that were administered in grades 3 through 8 in ELA and math, and in science in grades 5 and 8, and then at the high school level in biology and math 1. And Ms. Reagan, Mr. Feldman, Ms. Spencer, they reviewed the results of these check-ins, and teachers in the tested areas did have a one-on-one discussion with Ms. Reagan so that they could target areas that needed remediation. Teachers have also had professional development, which focused on how to utilize that check-in data. Basically, once students were assessed, the data was analyzed, and now action plans are being put into effect so that things can be remediated that need their attention.
long range.
But pull up some photos I wanted to share with everyone tonight. So as you can imagine, we've been extremely busy in the last month, especially this last couple of weeks. So all inspections have passed on the building. That's mechanical, that's plumbing, electrical, fire safety, fire pump, building. So all those have passed. Building, we've got a couple of runs with the building inspector, and we finally got a conditional pass. I believe it was yesterday. No, I'm sorry, today. The only thing that's holding us up is the elevator at this time. So, and we're at the mercy of the elevator crew, which is in the union. So, I've been told today that we're hoping to get inspection on the elevator on Monday. So, which I'm hoping that'll be our CO next week. So again, that's where our goal is right now, CO next week. And once we get the CO, then we can start making arrangements, the transition and everything. So our goal is definitely not to go into the next quarter. I know everybody is eager to get into the new building. I am as well, because I would like to get this thing done, finished. It's a beautiful building, beautiful campus. So I'm gonna just go over some of the photos. That's the second floor. As you can see, all the benches are there, minus the furniture. So furniture arrived yesterday. So they're gonna be working on all brand new furniture for the entire building all this week. They broke out all this week. Unfortunately, they were supposed to use the elevator, so they had to use the stairs for the furniture. So that's a little key in the plans, but we got through it. Go ahead to the next one. So this is actually a aerial photo that was taken Friday. So that's actually our latest. So you can kind of see the perimeter of the building, the parking lot, the building, the courtyards, everything on our campus. You know, with the exception of the septic field, which is to the right on the drawing. And I know high school, Mr. Feldman's been working on traffic maps and things like that. So the logistics of, you know, where do I go? How do I go in, you know, with buses and students and car riders and things like that. So those things will be forthcoming, I would imagine, next week as we get closer to a transition plan. So obviously I would like to see a lot more green in that picture. So we need some rain A lot of rain, so we'll get there. So actually, they started putting sod down yesterday and actually finished sod today. So it took them 2 days to put sod down all around the building. That was like 2 tractor trailers full of sod. So all the landscaping is complete, all the mulch is complete. They are watering it like crazy right now because of our drought. So this is one of our pictures of the bathrooms. So this is 100% complete. So we've got several bathrooms in the building. This is one of our driveways. So I want to draw attention to the island. This is a right in, right out. So pay attention to the signs. People don't go out the wrong way. This was a DOT permit thing that we had to kind of adjust along the way. But that we still got 2 other driveways for full access, so we got plenty of access. So this is actually a picture from the 2nd floor, looking in common areas in the back. So this is just a picture of courtyard, rear courtyard. Our cleaning crew. So our cleaning crew has been out there for about 2 weeks now. They are washing windows, cleaning floors, cleaning everything, cleaning the bathrooms. So it's looking amazing out there so far. Everywhere I see a ladder going up everywhere. So this is just a front view. You can see all pavements complete, all striping's complete, all sidewalks complete, landscaping. This is my facade, but that is now complete. You can see our wonderful signs. Our signs are up now. Looks beautiful at nighttime. I think I got some nighttime pictures as well. It's well lit. You're talking about being dark and dim right now in Integrity. It's like a 100% change. You got plenty of windows, plenty of lights. So actually, just about wherever you walk in this building, you're going to have a view of something that's going to look very nice. So again, that's our night view. That's the rear courtyard. You can see all the sod they put down. They did all that today. All that sod today in the back. They had a large crew, a landscaping crew coming in. Again, that's another picture, just the front. Picture of the front, just different angles. Rear courtyard. So this is our reception area. So this is what you'll see first thing, what all people will see first thing coming into the building. If you can just kind of see Mr. Graham sitting right there. Ready to welcome everyone into our new building. Yeah, that's just another shot of that driveway. So
I think that's it.
okay. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, we got project going on right now. Landscaping, that's the wrap up. Getting very close to the finish line. Very, very close. I would say if I had to put a number to it, 98%. That's just how close we are. So everybody is working really hard to get the thing done. And everybody's just eager to get in there. That's our goal. That anybody got any questions? I said, amen for there's a lot of people put the thing together.
That moves us on to new business. First is paid parental leave, Ms. Simmons.
Thank you, Ms. Jean. So, I would like to suggest to the board here recently, in accordance with General Statute 115C-218.90A6, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction is now offering to charter schools an opt-in for paid parental leave reimbursement. So we currently have a paid parental leave in for our staff. But they are now offering to charters reimbursement for charters for substitutes during that paid parental leave, a certain percentage, which is really, really good. And we submit it twice a year. So I would ask the board to adopt this opt-in for our finance. Sorry, my brain just went.
Policy.
Thank you. Yes, yes. So the opt-in for the parental leave. Yes.
Any questions?
The FAQs and everything is in the drive.
Do I have a motion to approve the paid parental leave policy? Mr. Russell, Ms. Merle, second, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Then the final audit for 22-23, Ms. Deans.
Yes, also, so our final audit, was submitted a little bit differently this year. We have to submit it through Epicenter, which Heather and I are in a lot every month regarding all the reports to the DPI. So final audit submission was submitted via Epicenter. They received it and we received notification that it was approved by NCDPI. So all of that is 2022-23 is done. It's good. And all of the audit is up there for review as well.
Any questions on the audit? Motion to approve the final audit approval. Ms. Boston. Second, Ms. Merle. All in favor? Thank you. Ms. Reagan, NCDPI monitoring visit.
So Mr. Feldman spoke to this earlier, but Ms. Morris, welcome. Ms. Morris, so she has to balance a lot of roles and responsibilities, one of those being testing. And it has really thrown us for a loop this year with the, additional approximately 300 kids testing on both campuses. And I won't forget, when we hired Ms. Morris, she said, now, Ms. Reagan, how's this going to work on 2 campuses? And I said, I have no idea. And so, and it still came. So if anything, I'm honest. Okay. I said, I have no idea, Ms. Morris. So again, she is working her tail off to make sure that we are staying in compliance with the state. There are things that we are doing that are great, and there are things that we're doing that we need to improve. And so, poor thing, on her first couple months on the job, now we have we call it, it's not necessarily compliance monitoring, but it is. So we have a monitoring visit coming up. And so they just randomly pick different schools and things like that. Well, yay, surprise. Yes. But they're coming to monitoring our testing program. So this has been a big deal because luckily Miss Morris is fantastic and she has made a lot of friends at the state level that has been, they've been very good with giving her guidance and support and answering questions after hours and on the weekends. I mean, it's been a feat. I'm just trying to make this happen and make sure things are being done with validity and fidelity, and making sure that they are done correctly. So one of the monitoring folks that are coming to do a visit was supposed to come today when she administered the pre-ACT. He was unable to do that, so he will be here tomorrow. So he will be on our high school campus first thing in the morning with bells on, watching Miss Morris and how she performs and gives the assessment to our kids that weren't here today to take the assessment. So the assessment of it's an assessment of our assessment, but they are monitoring how we are giving the assessment. So tomorrow they are coming to look at the pre-ACT, and the purpose of monitoring is to ensure that the annual testing program is conducted in a manner that is fair, consistent, and equitable for all students, including students with disabilities and students identified as English learners. So overall, we stress, we get nervous about this stuff, because someone's coming to check up after you, but all in all, when they leave, it is a blessing because they do provide guidance. We want to be doing things correctly in the right way and ways that we could be doing it more efficiently. So we look at it as a positive here. So that will take place tomorrow. And hopefully we'll get some, good feedback to be able to improve and just get better each and every day. So, and highlight the things we're doing well. So he will be here tomorrow. So that's one of the monitoring visits we've got coming up. Another one that is taking place has to do with our EC department. So you guys know, at different board meetings, I've come to present different things. We have many different departments within our school system, and especially being K-12, you even have more, it feels like sometimes. So, but this is our EC department. It's just a piece of our EC department. So this is not a huge EC audit, but this is a part of our EC department that's being audited. So this one is specific to, they are looking at indicator 13, which is secondary transitioning monitoring. So that's basically our kids that are, graduating, they're leaving Clever Garden. Did we do everything we needed to do to prepare them for their exit? Okay, so all of this fancy stuff is now done online through a program called ECATS. So basically, this one for the assessment one, they're coming in person. A lot of times they come in person. This one's actually it's all done electronically. So they're going to pull up ECATS and they're going to do random sampling of 5 student records that are students with IEPs, and they're going to make sure that the IEPs are accurate. They're checking to make sure that all of the post-secondary transition elements from the student record protocol were done correctly. And so they're checking those between November 6th and then the end of this year. So the end of December. So they're going to be just randomly pulling 5 records and making sure that they were done correctly. So again, another opportunity. We just look for lots of opportunities around here, but always opportunities for us to have somebody kind of check over, make sure we're doing things correctly, make sure that we are training the rest of the staff on how to do that correctly. So again, Ms. Garrison is aware of that, and her team is well aware and feel good about what we've got in our ECAT system. But again, if there's something we're not doing or a box we're not checking, we want to know what that is. So they are coming to do a they're not coming in the building, but they will be doing a monitoring visit virtually.
Have anything else for the session? I have a motion in closed session in the general section 143, that's 318.11A1 and 5. O'Brien second, Ms. Foster, all in favor?